Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of Bridging International Waters. My name's Marcus Barry,
And I'm Priyanka Pandit.
and we are your hosts. I am from sunny Oldham in Greater Manchester, England, in Great Britain.
And I'm from Mumbai, India.
And today we are bringing you a beautiful episode about why conflicts escalate. We've been really
Yes.
excited to deliver this whole podcast here for this amazing charity that we'll definitely get onto. So yeah, Priyanka, over to you.
Yes. Well, in our previous episode, we spoke to you about what mediation is. And today we're taking the next step. We're talking about why conflicts escalate. So we're really talking about uh, helping you to understand the concept of mediation and why it actually matters because we're going to talk about why conflicts grow bigger over time. Um, like we said before, mediation is a very human process. And one of the biggest reasons that conflicts grow over time is because parties often feel unheard, disrespected, or deeply hurt. And this sometimes people also just need validation or acknowledgement of how they have felt because of a certain conflict or dispute. And how we discuss these agreements can really change the way conflicts either escalate or de escalate. And the emotional triggers that are involved in conflict often are the reasons that lead to escalation. Um, so it's very often to understand why this happens and what the real misunderstanding is. If I have to use technical terms, it is moving away from positions and exploring underlying interests, which is something that we'll very often talk about when we're talking about mediation. And of course, once we understand that, we can really move to resolution very quickly.
Absolutely, and well explained. I mean, I bet you're thinking about what emotional triggers I actually have, or you actually have, or the people are actually have that may be watching this episode and thinking, what's an emotional trigger? So let's deep dive into that. So a conflict does start with the most simple misunderstanding. Um, and what is a simple misunderstanding? Maybe you turn up 5 minutes late and didn't explain to your boss why you was 5 minutes late. And that's been only 5 minutes, but it's a recurring thing. Or in a neighborhood doing something at what you may think is a great time to bring your bins around or something like that when the other party next door that you're absolutely not aware of is maybe sleeping. The very tiny, simple misunderstandings that that build and build and build over time. So rather than people interpreting that as a type of behavior, they see it as like or asking the question, can you not, or can you do this? It turns into a big escalation of they're always doing this against me, and I'm always asleep when they're bringing the bins around. And I've told them and told them, but it's literally the smallest things that build over time. And that's when you're in the thick of that moment, it's you become more defensive. You communication totally breaks down. It's less open. It's more eye
Yeah.
contact. The funny looks. We could talk up till kingdom come on funny looks. Honestly, of how they gave me a funny look when they walked in that day. Well, did you ask them how the morning was? No, I just that put. You're thinking, right? Okay, most mine again. The last point was the minor issue that can escalate so quickly. Walked into the office, put the bag on
Yeah.
the table, and there's a funny look.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. That's
Yeah.
when it. Oh, sorry. That's when it becomes like. That's when it all draws up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is the smallest emotional triggers, and so let me give you a very personal example that happened today, actually, incidentally, and it had an emotional trigger from my end. So my friend, I was busy doing something, and my phone was with my friend, and it was open, it was unlocked, and just to tease me, she transferred something to her phone on WhatsApp, from my phone because this was something that she was asking me to share with her, and I was refusing. And she saw an opportunity to just sort of trouble or tease me about this when I was busy with someone else. And then she sort of showed it to me when I paid attention back to her. And instead of giving her an opportunity to explain that this was just to sort of tease me, I immediately felt like, there was breach of trust, like my privacy was intruded upon or invaded. I was mad. I was just mad. So I just like picked up my things and I started to walk away. And and she said, just give me a chance to explain. This was the purpose and the idea of it was not to get you mad or angry. It was just to sort of do this. And it made me realize that, I just assumed.
Yeah.
I just made an assumption in my frustration or anger or moment or whatever it made me feel. I disregarded entirely considering or understanding why she had done what she had done. And this is exactly what happens in conflict, right?
So true.
We we focus so much on how we felt and what has happened to us that we don't stop and pause for a second, even after we've cooled down, to try and understand why this happened, both for ourselves as well as give an opportunity to the other side to explain why that happened, why they behaved in a certain way, or why they said what they did, right? So when emotions rise and we allow our emotions to control us and not the other way around, listening becomes very, very hard.
Yeah.
And when we're not listening, we're really just talking out loud. Nobody is listening to each other. And that is when we become very defensive. So instead of being open and understanding, we will stick to our position. We'll become very defensive about how we feel and what we think is right and what we think should be done. So it's really these emotional triggers that really intensify and just escalate the disagreement and spiral into something else entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you okay? Just
Yeah.
check in.
No, I'm
Right,
absolutely fine.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely fine. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. So expanding a little bit more on what Priyanka just said so beautifully, the conflict does shift from the issue to the person of whatever's going on with that person. So for example, the tone of voice, it could be somewhat simple as, I mean, if we're looking at triggers and why we're shifting blame and shame, it could be like emotions could be the smell of the smell of a certain perfume that reminds you of something. It could be the most minute type of things or an act that would trigger you to, from conflict shift from to the issue to the person. It's like, well, and then all of a sudden they've built up a profile of that person, a complete profile of, well, they're always like this and they're always blaming me when they come into the office or for example, from a community point of view, when the car pulls up or the scooter or the bike, and it's just they always walk past my house and look in my window when they might not even be looking at that whatsoever. They might be looking at the telephone and the mobile and just have a little quick glance to see what's in front of their path. It is the minute thing. So that's where the trust completely breaks down. And you're thinking, there's no understanding
Absolutely.
of why that happened. It's built. And that's it. At this stage, the resolution becomes so much harder without any support, any truth from either side. And then let's say you've tried to resolve that conflict on your own and it's just gone, well, it didn't work out. I tried to meet them, but they weren't interested. And then there's that rejection. The rejection gets added in there. And it's like, next minute, it's like,
Absolutely.
ah, this person, this person, right? And you're like, okay, so what was really going on for you in that scene? And then you break it down a little bit. And you're thinking, well, were they just walking past the house on the telephone? Was it the only time they could bring the bins round to the front of the house because they had so much going on for themselves?
Yeah.
Have they got a family issue they were taking care of? Came back late at night, unaware, totally unaware. And the partner has said, look, can you bring the bins round? I know it's late, but just so we've got them for the morning before we have to go out early to go on holiday, or you don't know. You don't know what is going on at that stage at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We always we're so quick in making assumptions about certain situations and circumstances that we've dealing with. And these assumptions really can really be very expensive because they can just blow things out of proportion so much without even giving us an opportunity to pause. And that's really the cost of escalation, isn't it? It's the breach of trust that you feel. It's the damage that it does to a relationship. And it doesn't have to be a deeply personal relationship. It could be a working relationship. It could be a transactional relationship. Very recently, I was advising on a matter where the licensor of this workplace has been called upon by the office that's using that particular commercial office, because there's a constant issue with the fit outs that have been done. The roof is sort of falling, and this is a real hazard because like someone can really get hurt, and it's a problem. And it's just been emails and notices, and things are escalating, and now they're threatening to sort of say, we're not going to pay you the rent because you're not maintaining it well. This is proving very life threatening for our workers, and we can't sort of keep this happening. It's also causing reputational harm to this business because it's a startup and it's a growing business, and
Yeah.
this is a very big client, so lots of influence in the market. But it was only when I stepped in and we tried to understand what was really happening here that we understood that this licensor has been talking to the owner of the building for the longest time to do repairs of the building and take care of the water leakages.
Oh
And
no.
because the owner hasn't done this, he hasn't done the waterproofing on the terrace, all the maintenance work that this guy has actually broken his back to put in is coming down, and he's now facing the brunt on both ends. So he feels
Imagine.
so stuck up despite of doing everything. So it's not like he's doing anything intentionally. It's not like he's not doing enough, but it's just something that's beyond his control. And so what we did was, in this conversation, we assured them and we said, you know what, let's work together to do this, because it's a problem for both of us, and we're in a
Yeah.
long-term lease. It's a 5-year contract. So they both decided to now get a third party to come to an inspection and get behind the landlord, the owner of the building, to actually do what is necessary, because everybody is being impacted here. So this is really what mediation can do. And if imagine what if this open conversation had not happened, the outcome would have been, of course, this stress escalating, reduced productivity, which we're already seeing, real damage to income, which was maybe not paying the rent, suing you, starting another unnecessary litigation because the contract allows it. So even in families, for example, there's so many family disputes on such. When you sit in mediation, you listen to them, and at the end of the process, parties realize that this was such a trivial, silly issue, which we could have, if we were just more understanding, we could have just heard each other out, not focus on how things were being said, but
Yeah.
focus on what was being said. Because very often, when emotions are really high, we often tend not to mind how we're saying things. And what we mean can be brushed aside just because of our tone or because of the words that we've used. And this can create long-term emotional distance. And it's very sad to sort of see this.
Yeah.
Communities can get so hugely impacted, so much divide and tension. Some of the most difficult riots that we faced when I was still in school, there was a huge religious riot that I was witness to, where
Mm.
we actually saw bombs being thrown, and we were in an emergency situation. We had to put up black posters on the windows so that the light doesn't go out, and it was all a community related, because it was a religious issue at that point in time. So really, I mean, the cost of escalation is can really be life also at times.
Yeah.
When some small issues are left unchecked,
Yeah.
overlooked, or disrespected, and then it just spirals and evolves and just keeps growing and bulging into something so large that it just becomes that much harder to resolve.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
like you said, lives are affected. Like
absolutely.
it could be a literally loss of life. It could be,
Yes,
um, I mean, obviously, it's getting that understanding right, really, from the get-go. And when it's lost, trying to piece together the harmony gaps of what can be restored and what can be salvaged at that point, if it's at that end, and as a last chance saloon to try and make things right. And when you look at it, obviously, later and reflect, it's like, how did it get to that point? And then you're thinking, well,
yes,
communities are almost shattered, lives are nearly lost,
yes,
misunderstanding throughout, and you're thinking, it's almost, it's not okay that that's happened that way. Like, but
absolutely,
it is okay that it's been identified. It should be even more okay that a plan is put in place, a structure together as a unity in the community,
absolutely.
unity in the community. What can be strengthened to go forward from that? And it's like, how many communities are lacking that communication or that place of where mediation person, center, the group. It could be a small people in the village or community that people can rely on or
Absolutely.
turn to.
Absolutely.
And
Just a safe space where you don't feel like you're not being heard. You don't feel like nobody's listening to you.
yeah,
Um, have a calm, mature conversation. Not because what you're saying is important, but because it's important for everyone to feel heard. And it's
yeah,
important to calmly talk through whatever you're going through,
yeah,
understanding someone's perspective. I mean, it can bring such a huge shift to how you're seeing the conflict.
yeah.
So,
Like in that
actually,
community
that,
situation with the roof, like
yeah,
I know alarm bells are raised, but I mean, to understand the perspective from the person that was the
yes,
engineer that was trying to put it right to the person that was carrying out the project. Now, if them both
yeah,
had sat down and just gone, "Oh, I'm sorry, can I just make sure that's okay before that's okay?"
yeah,
And the whole
absolutely.
dynamic shifted. But like, "Oh, I'm sorry that, yeah, you know what? I didn't see that. I was, yeah, I was told that that was going to happen, and it never did." All right. Oh, and it's like, again, the small disagreements, and a space for that calmness. And they should do. It should be a community button where these people just walk up and go mediation o'clock and just, can we talk? And because that in
I
that
couldn't
setting where
agree more.
lives were at risk, where lives are at risk, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
how we got there. Um, was it a business decision? Was it a finance decision? Well, a decision was made of where that was ignored, right?
Yes,
And to pull it back to the basics of one person having the contract and then the other person just carrying on with practice, it was like, that was that's that's quite big, right? That's
yeah,
real world problems.
absolutely,
That's, that is literally bridging the international water of how that could be understood.
absolutely.
Literally. Um,
Yeah. I think that brings us to our bridge moment for today.
yes, absolutely. So,
Yes.
oh, so one for the homework, it could be, when did small disagreements in your life become bigger than it needed to be? We have got a little bit of time there, so
Yeah.
if you're happy to
Yeah,
take
we'd
lead on
love
it, I'll
to.
take lead on it. I'll
No,
go.
I mean, this is such a important reflection for all of us to do.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure all of us have had this moment in our lives where after the disagreement, we've walked out or we've had our own space and privacy, and we've even said to ourselves that, it really shouldn't have gone down that way.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
it could have been handled differently. We feel it. Maybe our ego won't allow us to sort of say it to the other side immediately. We
yeah.
and we must all accept that we all have egos. uh,
Number one, acceptance.
some absolutely. Some of us have more pampered egos than others, but we all have them. And yeah, it just takes a second, for that small disagreement to just be brushed
Yeah.
aside without any thought to it. But later, and I think this is more important even from just like a peace perspective, because peace is so important for all of us to,
Yes.
to sort of live our lives, to just understand and reflect back on whether this was worth it or could it have been done differently.
Yeah. Like
No.
the what you said regarding the community situation, your business situation before, this ties in perfectly with this. Ironically, I didn't know you was going to say it, but structure
Yeah,
doesn't limit
I didn't
conversation.
know
It's
this was going to come up.
I
I mean,
didn't. I couldn't remember the slides. I was like, I know I've got
this
bridge moments
we
on.
promise this is not a planned.
This
Marcus and
so,
I are not that good at planning this
with
podcast.
great mediators, we are
But
amazing
with great
mediators though.
mediators, we did not plan this.
So structure doesn't limit
But
conversation, it makes honest conversations possible. And I think just
absolutely.
thinking about that, it's how, I mean, we're going to move into obviously later episodes of how mediation is structured. We'll do some deep dives in there for you as well. And just be, but that's that's felt absolutely perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, like an honest
Yeah.
conversation where possible would be the gift that keeps on giving, but it's a lot of coming to vulnerability. I know, I'm sure there's some slides on it, but the vulnerability to have that conversation is the biggest strength. People receive the vulnerabilities as weaknesses. Well, vulnerability is the biggest strength. It really is. It sets people apart. It sets the differences apart of what happens going forward, because someone's vulnerable enough to go, look, I need to talk about something, or I need to just address, can we just have a conversation? I mean, we could do another series on lead-ins if you wanted to. Or follow.
Yeah. No, but I couldn't agree more, Marcus. What you said is so true. In so many disputes that I have seen and resolved, it is in the moments of where the parties have truly allowed themselves to be vulnerable that they have found, this unbreakable bond and trust in each other because they've confided. They've accepted their most vulnerable parts. They've opened it up. The other person has respected this, and they've really understood. And then they've walked through together, even if they've taken separate paths later. But that feeling, that trust, that bond that it creates at that point in time, it's priceless. It's something that I can probably never describe with in enough words. So it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, absolutely. We'll draw to a close today on our second
Yes.
episode of Bridging International
Yes.
Waters. Again, thank you so much for
Thank you very
your
much.
time as well,
Always
Priyanka.
a pleasure.
And yeah, thank you
Thank you
for
to our
joining.
listeners.
Yeah,
Yes.
pop your comments and
Yes.
likes and shares below. Let us know what your bridge moments are and any feedback on there. Be again, being vulnerable to take that conversation forward. Pop you as much feedback in there as you wish. And yeah, thank you
Yeah.
again. Appreciate
Until
it.
next time. See you.
Take care. Bye bye.